get us to YouTube. And formerly we were on Roku, but everybody, let's see if we can get me back here. Bada bing, bada bang. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're live today, and it is Weeds Day, and we have our cast of suspects here. You get out of your house and you see somebody standing there with a shoe that looks like a phone. Was that Get Smart? Yeah. And they're watching you. But is everybody watching everybody, or are we watching ourselves, everybody? Today is our fun drive, and we want to have fun on our fun drive. So that's all I know is that more people are going to come in today and visit with us, and we're going to definitely have a chat about what the prisoners love. They love letters. They love coming on the air here periodically. We had Edwin a couple weeks ago. I got my paperwork into Edwin, and we may be able to finance that and fly back and film an episode with Edwin to make the noise louder. But Jeff Mazansky in 2015 or 2016, I believe, is when he was released. I went to Missouri. I got into the prison, and they checked every camera and every bit of film I had, and all my things. They wouldn't let me wear a hat, and so free the hair. And so it was really an amazing time going into my first prison with Jeff Mazansky. And he's down here in the corner if you ever care to see. That's Jeff Mazansky down there. And he's a beautiful soul. And he said nobody deserves to be in jail for God's gift. God put this on this earth. And he said that he taught woodshop. He taught woodshop and to the prisoners there, and that's what got him by. So I am going to see if I can mute this gentleman here. Oh, I cannot. Okay. So anyways, I'm really excited about today's show because I want you to all dig deep down into your Zelle, PayPal, or Cash App. That's what they have. And realize that this is Freedom Grow, freedomgrow.org. And they're the most fantastic organization. They're getting a lot of traction. Wiz Khalifa played for them at a secret sesh down in LA a few months ago. And it's really cool that we're making some traction for our concert that we want to do. We had a meeting this week with some financiers and some other people. Vivian from Hempfest that was on last week, everybody. This is a recap of last week and our meeting we had this week for the concert series we want to do to bring people together to raise the awareness, just like Jeff Mazansky. When I rose awareness, I didn't get him free, but making it louder and allowing the governors of that state with 300,000 signatures, it didn't hurt, didn't hoit, you didn't hoit. It's, Hanukkah time, so I speak a little Yiddish here. So I just want to tell you all that the concert's coming, and we want to make some noise so everybody will hear us, to know that not, the atrocities that are happening on the planet, and excuse me for having to bring them onto my show, but I'm going to share another bit of that today with you. So anyways, let's get started, everybody. Get your PayPal, get your Zelle, get your Cash App, put your phone up to the screen there and go right to Freedom Go, because they're going to help us with the concert also. They have the whole catalog of all the prisoners that are home, and they have access to them, and we're going to bring them to the concert. Okay, so Hemp Hooray. I'm going to go now and see if I can share my screen with you all. And welcome, boys. Welcome, Rodimus Para, formerly known as Weed Hopper, Grasshopper from the Kung Fu series. And Steve, the Weed Man, has a fantastic story of smuggling pot. How much did you smuggle, Steve?
I didn't smuggle a dime's worth, but my novel is called The Marijuana Man, A Dealer's Diary. It's a reminisce back to the 60s. as a young man goes off to college and gets involved with the marijuana and then the marijuana trade. And it's an interaction of what was going on in the 60s and 70s and 80s in history, because those decades were phenomenal as far as actions and transactions, people in the streets protesting for women's rights and protesting for minority rights, protesting to ban the bomb and get our guys out of Vietnam. Those were the days of Woodstock and Haight-Ashbury. They're the days of the man on the moon and the assassination of political people. It's a big time period.
Well, God bless you for again making that louder and prouder, I guess, and exposing that through your documentary film. What are you up to these days? Are you? I know that we have Russell comes on our show, and you're doing a book about Russell's life, and he is a bodybuilder and a former NFL player that is healing himself through psychedelics and marijuana.
Russell is a phenomenal individual. He's a walking time bomb, and he and I have been working together on his memoir for several months now. He's died and come back. He's had open heart surgery, replaced half the insides of his heart. He's had 4 pacemakers, and because of an accident that happened while he was working out at the airport at DFW back in 2019 that knocked him off a 20-foot ladder item, that he landed on his back and cracked his back, and his head was in medication for the next 15 years, dealing with opiates to deal with the pain in order to work. He cured him. He went and got himself cleaned up, and since 2015, he has been actively involved in finding ways through nature to deal with his pain.
I love how you said nature. That's really beautiful. Yes.
It is. It's the combination of FICO oils and mushrooms have done a phenomenal job in helping him deal on a day-to-day basis. He'll tell you, he doesn't live with a 9 or a 10. He lives with a 2, and 2 he can tolerate.
Well, fantastic. It's nice to have you. I'm going to roll right into our intro, everybody. Sit back. Roll a big one, everybody, and listen to some of the daily activities and what's going on, and welcome everybody to episode 185, our fund drive. And we'll try to have some fun, even though it's a hard time right now. It's Hanukkah. It's the 6th or 7th night of Hanukkah, and bless you all. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Optimize. There we go. And welcome YouTube and welcome Facebook here. So let's share our screen here, and let's go to find our movie. Okay, so we're gonna go boom, and we're gonna open that in. We're going to open that one. We're almost here, everybody. It's a welcome day, and a day that we really want you to buck up and send some dough to Freedom Grow today. Freedom Grow is going to be one of our sponsors and our collaborators on our show that we're doing. So I'm opening up QuickTime here, you guys. Here we go. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
From Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and neighboring planets and Sunday. Israel's bombardment of Gaza has entered its 3rd month. Health officials in Gaza say the Israeli assault has killed over 17,000 Palestinians. Earlier this week, an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City killed the acclaimed Palestinian academic and activist Rafat al-Adeed, along with his brother, his sister, and 4 of his nieces. For more than 16 years, al-Adeed worked as a professor of English literature at the Islamic University of Gaza, where he taught Shakespeare and other subjects. Rafat al-Adeed was a father of 6 and a mentor to many young Palestinian writers and journalists. He also co-founded the organization We Are Not Members. He authored dozens of stories and poems about life under Israeli occupation in Gaza. In a few minutes, we'll speak to one of his friends. But first, I want to return to Rafat al-Adeed in his own words. He's spoken to us several times. This is October 10th. As he spoke to Democracy Now!, Israeli strikes rattled his family's home in Gaza City.
What's happening in Gaza is complete and utter extermination of the non-Jewish population in occupied Palestine. As you mentioned, Israel ordered a medieval hermetic siege from air and sea. Israel has also just bombed the only way out through Egypt, the Rafah crossing. The only way out is what's happening. What we are foreseeing is slow starvation, slow genocide. Maybe Israel is going to push us all into the sea. And I think what is making it even more difficult than before is that the whole world, not even lip service, all American and European countries and politicians are rushing to pledge allegiance to Israel and to Netanyahu. Israeli American politicians, American presidential hopefuls are literally calling for genocide. American mainstream media is not pushing back against Israeli officials, calling for the collateral damage of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. Why is this happening? Because we refuse to live under occupation. We refuse to live in total submission. We want freedom. We want this occupation to end. This is not a state of war, as one of your guests just mentioned. This is a state of occupation that started over 75 years, that started with the British Empire giving Palestine to the Zionist movement in 1917. The only hope we have is in the growing popular support in America, in the movements the movements, the human rights and the rights movements in America and across Europe, to take to the streets, to pressure their politicians into putting an end to this dark episode of not only the history of the Middle East, but also the history of humanity. If people are asking how was the Holocaust allowed and other genocides in Africa and across the world, now you can see this live on TV, live on social media. Palestinians.
We parallel to the 420 POWs, everybody.
Businesses. We are speaking about.
Please donate today, everybody.
Thousands of housing
to Freedom
units,
Grow.
Destroyed by
.org.
Israel. So my message to the free people of the world is to move, to pressure, to mobilize, and to take to the streets.
And let's end prohibition for marijuana and hemp. And let's stop the warring between each other and the planet. Hemp Hooray. Hello, everybody. It's Jeff Eichen here with WEEDSDAYS, episode 184. Actually, 185. In the 70s, we had David Bowie, Ground Control to make. You can do it, computer. Let's see where our we ground control to make. I guess we didn't get all of our intro coming in today, so we will fast forward that. Ground control to make. Okay, so everybody, we are definitely having a incredible day today, and we will come back to our class here. And we lost Steve there, so it's Rodimus and I today, and we're really blessed to have everybody here today. Sorry about the intro there. You never know when things go from one side to the other, and my back office is on vacation today. So just heard from Jeannie 420, and Jeannie is definitely going to help one of her patients in surgery today, and she says, "Hemp, hemp, hooray." So yeah, you know, it's a heavy Hanukkah for me, everybody, and I will definitely let you see me here. There we go. Okay. Hey, it's a definitely a heavy Hanukkah for me right now because of the Middle East and other things that are happening on the planet. But it's also a learning time. We're really learning how to be better activists and to make our word through social media get out there, and to the governments to make a difference. So definitely see my right there, my links for freedomgrow.org, their PayPal, their Zelle, and their Cash App. The prisoners love to have mail. They love to read things, and just think about it yourself. Have empathy for somebody in prison for marijuana. Something you did 10 minutes ago is what Jack says. He says, "Hemp, hemp, hooray." Jack Terror, like terror. And we have Rodimus Parat today, going to read the news to you. But Rodimus, let's just have a little dialogue about how are you feeling and what's in your heart today?
I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be of service in this very small way to people who are suffering needlessly in jail for offenses that just absurd. You know, a plant puts people in jail and messes up their whole family lives. So I'm grateful to be able to, like I said, just do whatever I can in my limited capacity to help those folks get home sooner. I want to ask you, these little QR codes that you've got here, you know, I'm seeing them on my screen. They're very, very small. I'm not sure that they'll resolve if someone were to hold their phone up there.
Let me try here. I've got my phone and it's very far away, and let's see if it works, everybody. So we're live and it's my show and we're going to have a go at it here. So I'm going to go closer. There's Zelle, and there is Zelle Pay. Yeah, they're working, but you know what? Because you just said that, da 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 da. How do you like that?
Well, it's blocked. There we go. Okay, that's probably going to be easier to resolve.
There you go, them apples. Yes, it's very important for us to get the word out and to help each other technology wise.
Also, the other graphic, there's a sentence at the bottom that doesn't ever get visible. It has to do with where to send something. It's like the bottom of the little red frame there, the little rid frame. It actually had information that never got visible. The red frame that's got the pictures in it, all the different people's pictures.
Okay, let me get rid of the green here. We love the green. Let's see here. Omega. This one here?
Yeah. That information at the bottom wasn't visible before. It's the first time. It was blocked by your banner. So there we go. So it actually has, it says, proceeds go to. Yeah, now we know where the proceeds go to. It's kind of hard to read again. It's so small, but before you had it bigger. But
right. If I have it bigger, you can't see me. But anyways, everybody, it's freedomgrow.org, and we're really excited to just let me see if I can. Hang on, if I can do this, and then get this back here. Let's see if I can get this back. This was the there it is. Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
Would that fit at the top of the screen?
No, I'm having computer issues where it's just not allowing me to. There we go. I'm gonna make it smaller here. There we go. Make it smaller. Make it smaller. There we go. Leave it. Oh, come on. People think that when their computer slows down, it's time to get a new computer. Do not. Just clean it up. Clean your hard drive, everybody. So this is Backup Wednesdays, and I'm going to see. I'm just going to nix this. Okay. That was anyways the Freedom Grow. So don't forget, it's freedomgrow.org, everybody. And I'm just going to leave it at that and carry on with our conversation. Tell us a little bit about more what's in your heart, brother boy, man.
Well, at this time of year, a lot of people suffer from depression at this time of year because they're either away from loved ones, whether it has to do with work or other restrictions in life. So there's a lot of people who don't make it very well through the holidays. I choose to look at things positively. There are definitely things that are sad in my heart, just like everybody has sadnesses, but to also understand that sadness is a part of life, and that the more I can bear that and be okay with it and know that it's not permanent, that things will change, then I can stay positive and lighthearted, even though there's sadness. One can be lighthearted and sad at the same time. So holidays are melancholy for lots of people. This year happens to be not too bad, but definitely has its share of melancholy in it. Not just because of what's going on in the world, because it's my belief that wars have gone on since the beginning of humans hoarding resources from each other, whether that's food or land or a cave or fire or something. That there's just been conflict since the beginning of time, and what's going on today is no different than it's always been. There's always going to be people who are not realizing that there are better ways to solve differences and to distribute the wealth that this planet has in abundance for all of us. And when those things are tried to be controlled by others, well, then that's just going to makes it a difficult road. So I'm grateful that I can see that. I'm grateful that I can see that that's just a certain degree of not paying attention to solutions and just focusing on pain and problems and not really focusing on solutions. So I just hope that more people can do that, and I pray for that every day.
That's a very good quality within our team here. We do prayers and we set them especially during the holidays for those that haven't seen daylight with their family for some 20, 25, 30 years. I mean, Edwin called in the other day. There's other people in there. Vivian has told us there's thousands of people in jail for marijuana. And some people, the ones that we're voting for all of them to come home, but we are definitely focused on the lifers. And Freedom Grow is phenomenal. They're having an event in Florida this weekend with Randy Lanier. We invited Randy Lanier on today. He's a former race car driver that has a top-selling book, and he was an IndyCar superstar, and I guess, was it Rookie of the Year? And so just everybody do the best you can this season to hold your own, to hold your heart, to grab your children and take them out and also tell them the story. If you are smoking weed in front of your children, be responsible. Don't blow it in their face, and do it really carefully. And then if they ask you what that is, then tell them it's God's plan and that it's time to help the prisoners, with LPP, Last Prisoner Project, with 40 Tons, with Freedom Grow, with Can Do Clemency. The people we're lining up with to do our concert that we're planning to do. We are so excited, but tell the children that these people are fighting for something that's nonviolent. And then you can also, if they see on the TV, that little Democracy Now! That I shared with you today, tell your children about it. Don't just be transparent, everybody, and careful. Use your noggin, or in Yiddish they say kepi. Use your kepi. So it's great to have you today, Rodimus. And I'm so blessed to be walking this earth where people are leaving a lot, and it's not just about through war, but we have to deal with GMO and glyphosate, which is Roundup, and we can expose Roundup on my show because it's just us. We don't know how many people are watching today or not. It doesn't matter. It's the quantum aspect of saying no more pesticides, no more Roundup, because it gets into our children's bloodstream.
Roundup is an herbicide, glyphosate, that's actually very extensively used in the area I live in France. I live in the Champagne region, and glyphosate has been used for 100 years practically now, or something like it. The Champagne industry, only 10% of Champagne is actually organic. That means that 90%, unless it says organic on the bottle, anybody who drinks Champagne these holidays, Christmas and New Year's, try to find an organic one, because if it doesn't say organic or culture biologique on the bottle, you are drinking trace chemicals that are supplied by Dow and Monsanto. There's 5 different chemicals. There's chemical fertilizers, chemical herbicides, chemical pesticides, chemical fungicides, and there's another one as well, another pesticide. So it makes the farmers' jobs a lot easier to use chemicals, and they've been using it for so long, they're used to it. It takes a lot of work and cost to actually go organic, but
and so the workers are more exposed to it also.
Correct. That is correct.
The workers are more exposed while they're picking the cotton or the food that we eat.
My next door neighbor is the guy who started the organic movement 50 years ago in this part of the Champagne region. He's 94 years old. He's 94 years old.
Bring him on the show.
He still reads the newspaper every day without glasses at normal distance. So he doesn't wear glasses at all for anything, reading or distance. He still works in his vineyard about 4 days a week, and he has a head of dark hair with just some gray hairs in his dark hair. 94, still going strong.
My fro used to be brown. Remember those days? I saw a picture of the jelly. The jellyfish was Glenn Meadmore in the jellyfish outfit, with the heads coming off. I saw that photo. I rolled by it the other day, and oh yeah, there I am with dark hair, everybody. So this is the future, all you kids out there with beautiful curly black hair. The future.
That's me, and that's Jeff.
Hey, Cirque de Carlo.
1984. That's 1984 right there.
Yep. Yeah.
Or 85, maybe 85. Yeah.
I see. I have one of my Ramaste with Leslie Blanton bolo ties on too. The laminated bolo. That's a bolo tie that actually worked. I mean, the legs were on different rings, and we did a whole line of jewelry. It was so cool. Her earrings were great. It's good to reminisce, everybody. We're stuck in blaming and shaming everybody, but we do want to blame and shame the Reefer Madness crowd. Correct, Rodimus?
Do I want to blame and shame the Reefer Madness crowd? Definitely.
Yeah. Because it's time to end this crap, and through music, through media. That's what my heart is saying. I mean, I have a green screen and a green T-shirt on today, so you can see the cosmic. And,
I want to show Jeff. I want to show you my new T-shirt. This is my Christmas present to myself. Are you ready?
Stand up. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. Is that okay? Wait. Okay.
Kind of hard to see that because I've got that stupid virtual background. Anyway, yes, it's an image from my favorite movie of all time, 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's Dave the astronaut walking down the hallway. They're going to go turn off HAL 9000. Going to stop the AI from killing everybody.
What was the song that Hal?
Daisy,
give me your answer. And then he was shut down.
have
Crazy
for the love.
of you. Yeah, well, everybody, be careful. Don't buy the goggles, you guys. Don't. I saw a commercial the other day on Sports Network, and it was this young girl, and the commercial ended up good, but this was the way she learned how to play the piano. She put the freaking goggles on that they're selling for $1,000, right? And she was getting 3D lessons on how to play the piano. And she couldn't see anything in the room but the freaking 3D goggles. Don't buy the goggles. Jeff does not like goggles. Goggle industry thinks, when I saw the Walkman for the first time, I saw down on Melrose, people walking around like this. And I said, hey, what's going on? And I thought that was the end of everybody touching each other and talking to each other. Now we got the goggles. Now we got the goggles.
It was the end. It was the end.
Now we got the goggles.
Hey, have you ever done virtual reality goggles, Jeff?
They're fantastic if it's done right, but I don't want to live in there and I don't want it to get massive.
I've done both games and I've done art projects. I've seen both uses of that, and I can say that for the most part, even the people who are being creative with it, doing art with it, it's nice to see art always, but I don't quite yet get the purpose of this. I can see it as being for medical applications.
Oh,
I can see it for exploration.
Yeah.
I can see it for saving, people who are trapped under rubble or something like that, earthquake victims or war or whatever, but others virtual, like guiding a robot, things like that. But for entertainment purposes, to take away your visual sense and be in a room and kind of look like an idiot going, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm old, I guess. But I tell you, there's nothing interesting in it yet for me that makes me want to go out and buy a pair of goggles. I really don't see it. But then, that might have been the case with other technologies before as well. I like to see. I like to have my eyes open. I like to have my ears open. I don't even like to wear headphones. I very rarely ever wear headphones, even at home when I'm listening to music, unless it's really late at night and I, really need to hear something. Don't want to disturb my neighbors.
The Walkman, the Sony Walkman. I saw people walking on Melrose like this, and I'm going, is that the end of humanity? And now it's here. See, hear no evil. Now it's see no evil.
I thought Ronald Reagan getting elected in 1980 was the end of the world. So no.
Hey, well, no politics on my show, but we did bring Democracy Now! In today. So, and I do agree that I think I read once the Vivian story about in the 60s, we had wooden ships on the water and we were all getting hippied out and headbands and we had concerts and we were in hope. And then it started to go. And I think it did start during the Reagan era, where capitalism got dark instead of expressing and being able to build a hempcrete house. So everybody, end prohibition on episode 185. Send your freaking prisoners some dough and a letter and get as excited as I do And I talked to Stephanie Landa today. She was in the dental office, and she goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry," And she says, "Get Kristen on," and Kristen's out with the kids, and so I'm speaking for them. We love you so much, Freedom Grow. We want you to be involved with all of us, and just kick ass and send everybody. Send a PayPal, a Zelle, or a Cash App to Freedom Grow, so we can support the prisoners. Love you.
Yeah, 15 minutes left before the end of the hour, Jeff. You want me to do the news at any time?
Oh yeah, let me get our intro and let's do the news. Okay, we got Rodimus with the news. I'm going to share screen here, everybody, and sorry, buddy. Russell's just said sorry, buddy. Okay, so we're going to find our little intro here, everybody. This is a Manuel, everybody. This is Manuel. Manuel. Okay, open recent. Let's see here.
You can just let me read it. You don't have to do the intro. I can just do it.
I know, but I love my intro. I just got to see if I have it. Let's see here. Episode copy. I guess I don't have the intro anymore up here. Let's see. If I open up file, let's see if I can find it. If I can't find it, everybody, just bear with us. You all do computer work, so
is there any reason why we have to see you doing this part?
I don't normally. Let's just see here if we can do this here.
This is very unprofessional, Jeffrey.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful day and in the neighborhood, and here we go.
There's a beautiful presentation.
So pretend there's music, everybody, and this is Weeds Day with the Canna News coming with Rodimus, everybody, and welcome the news. And we will go back to Rodimus here, and with our professional news here cast, and I'll put them front and center. Everybody, the Canna News. Take it away.
Canna News, episode 185. And Pempere, it's Rodimus with your WEEDSDAYS Canna News and Prohibition, episode 185. All right, is cannabis bad for teens? Here's what the data says. 10 years after cannabis was first legalized for casual use in adults, scientists are struggling to provide evidence-based recommendations about the risks to young people. Crystal Isdall has been studying cannabis use among adolescents for 2 decades, and what she sees makes her worried for her teenage son. I see the data coming in, and I know that he is going to come across it, she says. As a clinical neurologist at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, she sees plenty of young people who have come into contact with the drug to varying degrees, from trying it once at a party to using potent preparations of it daily. The encounters have become more frequent as efforts to legalize cannabis for recreational use intensify around the world. In some of her studies, around 1/3 of adolescents who regularly use cannabis show signs of a cannabis use disorder. That is, they can't stop using the drug despite negative impacts on their lives. But she wants more conclusive evidence when it comes to talking about the drug and its risks to young people, including her son. Deciding what to say is difficult, however. Anti-drug messaging campaigns have dwindled, and young people are forced to consider sometimes conflicting messages on risks in a culture that is increasingly paints cannabis and other formerly illicit drugs as harmless or potentially therapeutic. Quote, teenagers are pretty smart and they see that adults use cannabis, Lindahl says. That makes blanket warnings and prohibitions practically useless. It is now a decade since the drug was officially legalized for recreational use by adults aged 18 and older in Uruguay and age 21 and older in the states of Colorado and Washington. Many other states and countries have followed, and researchers are desperately trying to get a handle on how usage patterns are changing as a result, how the drug impacts brain development, and how cannabis use correlates with mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. So a massive genetic study finds genes linked to cannabis addiction. The data so far doesn't tell clear stories. Young people don't seem to be using in greater numbers than before legalization, but there seems to be trends towards more problematic use. Frequent use also coincides with higher rates of mental health issues and the risk of addiction. But there could be other explanations for these trends. Experimental studies in humans and animals could help. but they are stymied by the fact that cannabis is still illegal in many places, and it is difficult to study the same products and potencies that people can now readily access. As a result, some researchers worry that society is stumbling unaware into a big public health problem. I'm concerned that this will hit us like tobacco hit us, says Nora Volkow, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse in Bethesda, Maryland. Even if the risks of cannabis use are small, it's like playing roulette, she says. In the hope of getting a better handle on the situation, her agency funded the Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study, started in 2015. And this recruited more than 10,000 children ages 9 to 10 with the goal of taking annual images of their brains to monitor how different factors affect their brain. Participants are now between 16 and 18, and some are starting to come into contact with the drug, says Lysol, who co-heads the project. So we should be able to really measure the impact of starting cannabis, she says. Kind of interesting. All right, jumping ahead here, but legalization is bound to have varying effects in different areas. A clinical psychologist at McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada says there was no initial spike in cannabis use among adolescents when it was legalized in Canada for adults aged 18 and older 5 years ago, but there was a rise in use when illegal cannabis stores that are not licensed by the government began to open, he says. Selections of sativa and indica dominate cannabis strains on display at an adult use marijuana dispensary in Denver, Colorado. Cannabis shops are subject to varying rules about what they can sell, advertise, and display. Now, there are more cannabis storefronts than there are Tim Hortons, says McKillop, referring to a famously ubiquitous Canadian coffee shop. Some negative consequences might also be emerging. A recent study in Ontario found that residents who were within walking distance of a cannabis dispensary were more likely to attend a hospital for treatment of psychosis, which is increasingly being linked to high-potency cannabis products. A hemisphere away, Uruguay saw an initial spike, and if anybody doesn't know where Uruguay is, it's southern part of South America. Uruguay saw an initial spike in use among those aged 18 to 21 as legalization rolled out in 2014.
Uruguay is like Portugal. They've been sovereign where marijuana has been legal and all pharmaceutical drugs for like 10 years.
Portugal is in Europe and Uruguay is in South America, yes. But usage quickly went back to pre-legalization levels, according to the survey results. The survey also found no increase in adolescents developing addiction or having more problematic use of cannabis. This could be because of a slew of factors, says Adriana Rivera Aguirre, a social epidemiologist at New York University, who led the survey. These include the fact that Uruguay has set limits on the potency of products sold legally, banned advertisements on packaging, and only permits the sale of cannabis flower products, no edibles or concentrates. So, weighing the dangers of cannabis. Rivera Aguirre measured not just how many adolescents were using cannabis, but also how many were using it at problematic levels, which she says many past surveys have not taken into account. The spike in use may have been the result of increased discussion and media attention surrounding legalization. Many others are also interested in understanding when casual use becomes problematic. Well, that's where I think the research needs to focus rather than worrying about the typical 17-year-old who has a joint at a party. Whereas use hasn't exploded in people under 21, there are concerns about the types of product being sold. Increasingly, what is available at dispensaries, at least outside Uruguay, has much higher concentrations of delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, the main active ingredient in cannabis. The cannabis of today is not the cannabis of yesteryear, says Ryan Sultan, a clinical psychiatrist at Columbia University in New York City. The THC concentration in products obtained by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has increased by more than threefold since 1996, and many dispensaries sell vaping fluids and products for dabbing, a method of consuming concentrated THC that can deliver large amounts of the drug into a person's lungs. Anyway, health impacts. High potency preparations carry much higher risks of inducing psychosis, and some researchers fear that this could have long-term effects. The thing that the psychiatric community is scared to their bones about is the link between cannabis and schizophrenia, says Sultan. A study of more than 40,000 people with schizophrenia in Denmark, where cannabis has been legal since 2018, found that around 15% of cases could be tied to cannabis use disorder.
Wait, was that 50 or 15?
1 to 5.
Okay, 15. Thank you.
With that figure being even higher in young men. But it is unclear whether the association in Denmark is causal or not. An epidemiologist at the University of Copenhagen says it could be those with schizophrenia who are seeking out cannabis to self-medicate. There are similar issues in clarifying the connections between cannabis and depression and anxiety, but associations are there. In a study of almost 70,000 adolescents in the US, Sultan found that around 1 in 40 were addicted to cannabis. Another 1 in 10 used cannabis but were not addicted. Even in this group, young people were twice as likely to experience bouts of depression, along with other negative outcomes, such as skipping school, having lower grades than non-users, and being arrested. So there's some interesting stuff going on. What's going on in the brain? Cannabis works by mimicking natural cannabinoid neurotransmitters in the body, which can activate a handful of receptors in the brain. It is mimicking that system, but it's cheating the system, Lisdahl says, because high-potency THC products are stimulating receptors much more than everyday activities would. In adolescence, one of the main concerns is THC's ability to bind easily to one receptor called CB1. These receptors are found all over the brain, but they are particularly common in areas associated with reward and executive functioning, which includes memory and decision-making. CB1 is more abundant in adolescent brains than in adult ones. Regulators need to rethink restrictions on cannabis research. We know that. I'm going to skip a little bit here because it's a very in-depth article and it's wonderful. If anybody wants to read this, the source of this is, where is it from? Oh, well, I don't know the source. Oh, Toronto Global, no, that's not it. Twitter, I guess it came off of Twitter, and the author is Anil Oza. Go ahead, another article here that's very interesting, well, much shorter. And we'll end on this one. This is the Ohio update from last week. Ohioans woke up Thursday in a land of limbo for recreational marijuana use. Adults can now legally grow and possess cannabis at home, but cannot legally buy it. On Wednesday night, Republican Governor Mike DeWine urged lawmakers to quickly set parameters for Issue 2, the citizen initiative voters approved in November. While the state Senate pushed through an 11th hour deal hours before the law took effect, the Ohio House adjourned without taking it up. Representative Jamie Callender said there's no drop-dead date for implementing a legal sales scheme and that growing marijuana at home or allowing possession can proceed according to voters' wishes. Yay. He said he wants to make sure we're thoughtful, that we've had adequate time to look at it and deal with the things that don't go into effect immediately. Representative Bill Seitz also defined the decision to adjourn without acting on the 160 pages of related legislation now pending in the House. We're not going to pass sight unseen such a monstrous proposition in 48 hours. That's nuts, Seitz says. Lawmakers need time to work through the complexities of setting up cannabis sales, taxation, and a regulatory structure. DeWine, however, worried openly about worst-case scenario developing, saying black market sales could flourish or that fentanyl or pesticide-laced marijuana products might become more accessible. He called the current state of affairs a recipe for disaster, unquote. Well, they left it and kicked the can down the road there. Let's see. Let's see. I'm skipping ahead here again. I'm doing a little editing on the flyer. Sorry, guys. Just finishing up here. All right. State President. Here we go. Yes. Senate President Matt Huffman said the Senate compromise respects voters while addressing important concerns. I'm opposed to legalization, but it's the law, he said. We don't want illegal sales, the black market, if you will, to get a foothold. Meanwhile, there are plenty of aspects of the new Ohio law that can be immediately enforced, says Louis Tobin, executive director of the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association. He says, as of Thursday, it's going to be very difficult to find probable cause and to prosecute people who are carrying around less than 2.5 ounces of marijuana, but prosecutors and law enforcement are still going to be on the lookout. People smoking in cars are still breaking the law. People carrying around more than 2.5 ounces are still breaking the law. And people engaging in private sales are still breaking the law. People driving under the influence are still breaking the law. So don't break the law. All right, then. That is the cannabis news, and that's it from Rodimus.
And like the Pot Brothers say, the attorneys at law, shut the fuck up when you get pulled over. You know? So thank you so much. You know, that first episode you were reading, the Canna News today, I learned a while ago that addiction is, in the classic, I guess, medical term, addiction is withdrawals, and there are no withdrawals from marijuana. if you are a daily user. But evidently, I think what they're going towards is that it's psycho addictive, that people think they need it. And so, I don't have a super gigantic opinion on it, but I also heard at one point in time, everybody, that that it was a let me put me back up on the gallery here, that that it was a I think up to 22 or 23, maybe even 24, the brain is still expanding. And so you should minimize, as a child, your consumption, is what that study gave out. But when I wear my shirt, not the one that I have on today with the green screen, it says marijuana is safer than alcohol. So if we weigh out everything, everybody, and your children are going to go in the garage and hide out and do 420 no matter what, I believe, and again, my opinions are short and sweet, that marijuana is safer than alcohol or opiates.
Well, anytime that you do something so regularly that you get used to feeling or doing that thing, whether it's exercise, people get a high from the endorphins.
Sure.
Workout, and then you suddenly change that and stop doing that activity. Your brain and your feelings associated with that not getting that thing that you got used to getting, which, let's say, the endorphin rush from exercise, or whether it's gambling or anything that can be habituated,
or food.
Food, exactly. You go through withdrawals, and the only thing that seems to make that withdrawal feeling go away is to do that thing again. So that's how addictions start. And addiction, it has some addictions are physiological, and some addictions are emotional, psychological. So that's why there's more research that needs to be done, so we really have a better understanding of where does marijuana use become abuse. There's a point at which anything can be abused. So there's intelligent or smart or healthy use, and then there's abuse of almost anything.
Well, they always, on TV or in a movie, they always have that scary moment where the dad or the mom has to tell the child about sex, about your period, whatever it is. Sorry, everybody, but this is a marijuana. This is a marijuana show, and the deal is episode 185, and don't forget to go to Freedom Grow donate link, PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App. But it's that moment in time where maybe, possibly, incredibly, we should sit down and tell our children to be careful with all consumption.
Exactly. That's a very
whether it's media or marijuana,
right? Or soccer.
And who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
Oh,
Jack Hare.
Also, screen time. To get kids off of screen time is one of the hardest things in the world, because that also, I have to say, there's a psychological endorphin thing going on too with kids who, it's a great pacifier to hand your phone with a YouTube video to your kid, and the kid all of a sudden was like complaining and wanting to, when are we going to get there? When are we going to go? And all of a sudden you hand them the phone, they're like, they're quiet. And it's like, that's what's happening, is that this is pacifying them, the screen time. And it's so convenient for parents to do that, because it really kind of short-term solves the problem. But the child then becomes addicted to the screen and
grows up doing video games.
Well, that, and also when you don't want them to do it, then they get really upset, like, I gotta have the screen, give me the screen. And it's like, whoa, that's another problem.
Well, if we're empathetic to the child, they know no different. They're being introduced to something that is candy,
right?
And they love their candy. If sugar gives them, they want more.
Right. So everything in moderation, including moderation. That's my motto.
and yeah, so exactly. And it's time for all you parents, all you teachers, all you planet walkers, all you 420 walkers. They just had the MJ BizCon, and I heard there was like 3 stories, 3 floors. And Jeff, you'll never make it through there. There's like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 1,000 booths and blah, 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 blah. But does anybody in their campaign say be careful?
Should.
And for the children, and don't drive with it. I'm not gonna give out the Duber, but you know what I'm talking about. And so I'm really blessed to have you all today on my show. We're at the top of the hour. We're gonna roll out of here. We had Steve on a little bit earlier, the Weed Man. His book is fantastic, and we'll have him on again. We'll have the usual suspects next week. We'll try to get Freedom Grow on here. Everybody's busy. Everybody's like, Russell just texted me, and he was in the dental. Stephanie was in the dental, and everybody else is in the mental. So love you, everybody. It's a really great day to slow down, and then you can speed up. So hug your children, hug your dog, hug your neighbor, and wear your mask if you're going to hug your postman. And love you all. Or masks are optional. So we're here at Weeds Day with Rodimus Para, all the way from France. Have you learned the language yet?
9. No, anyway, that's German.
10.
Yeah, that's Russian.
Wait, you do speak Russian. We know that, or I do.
Yeah, I do. I'm conversational up to a point. It's a very difficult language, especially when I moved here in my mid-50s, when the language center of the brain is no longer open for business. And so it's been hard, but I can actually communicate with anybody I need to about basic things. I simply can't have an intellectual conversation about philosophy or religion or science. Or
when I lived in Europe, I learned the language by watching the news, the rain, the weather, and I got those words in night after night when they said the same thing, and it made more sense to me.
Yeah. So I can do all that. I can talk about those things, but not physics and quantum mechanics and
I found by living in another country that the elders appreciated when you're trying to speak their language. But these days, most everybody from a certain generation speaks English, correct?
Yeah. Well, in France, yes, it's people under 30. I'm going to be generous and say under 30. It's mostly under 25. They're all able to communicate in English in some way. This is not true 10 years ago. So France is finally, it's kind of like the holdout country. You go to Germany, everybody speaks English. They'll probably go to Netherlands, everybody speaks English. France has been kind of isolated itself because the French thought that their language was going to be the dominant world language. Well, it turned out to be English, and the French have been in denial about that for a little too long, and now they're finally coming around.
How about pot in France? What's the conversation?
There's a lot. Well, not a lot. There's a number of CBD dispensaries. They're all set up. You walk in, it looks like you're walking into a regular cannabis shop in the States. It's all set up with similar counters, similar products, but every one of those products is non-THC. It's only CBD based, which my guess is that once the government, does pass that here, which there's still some bit of resistance by the people, but there's also a lot of people who want it. There's a lot of cannabis use here. It's illegal, but these CBD dispensaries, which you can actually mail, you can actually send, have CBD mailed to you. But the centers, the little stores themselves, as soon as that switch is flipped, there will be an infrastructure already in place to dispense. So I think that's what's happening. When the president, Macron, who is now in his second term, when he was first elected in the very beginning of his first term, he tried to get it passed. He actually proposed legalizing, and he got shot down. But clearly he wants that to happen. And of course, it would be a great revenue provider for the government as well, with taxes and stuff, especially since tobacco is really on the decline in France, considering that, everybody used to smoke cigarettes in France. It was a cliche, and people did. It was one of the most smoky countries 20 years ago. And now it's, not hardly any, well, you still see people smoking, but so the decline of tobacco revenue taxes could be replaced by cannabis. So we're hoping that happens soon.
Everybody, it's the holiday drive. We'll have another one next week. And don't forget Freedom Grow, their donate link. And it says holidays, just do it. Hempy, Holidays, freedomgrow.org. And PayPal, Zelle, thank you so much. And Cash App, you can put your phone up to my screen. You can freeze this and rewatch it and go back and do it. Just go get your freaking phone and get some money to the cannabis prisoners, the POWs that are in there that can't come home and see their children and have a dinner or break a turkey leg or whatever. From the Raw Vegan here, Jeff Eichen, and episode 185. Thank you so much, Rodimus, for holding space with me today. And I'll see you at the concert. And everybody, get ready for our concert. We're really getting closer. We're doing some incredible work on it. And Snoop, we want you. Willie, we want you. And just think of anybody else and call me, everybody, if you have a connection to Carlos or Santana. You got to stop your evil ways, Reefer Madness, because I'm going to do a movie called Reefer Gladness one of these days. So let's get the concert going. Love you all. And I'm out of here. So I will share my screen and do a little mini me outro, and love you all. Thank you, Rodimus. Talk to you on the other side. Okay, let's go here with the can of news. There we go. Boom. And we go boom. And we go boom.
Even what we have is in India. That is
smoking this doja feels like floating rubber. See the rays of the sun.
And let's stop the warring between each other and the planet. Hemp Hooray. Hello, everybody. It's Jeff Eichen here with WEEDSDAYS, episode 184.
85.
So I hope you remember the 70s. We had David Bowie, Ground Control to Major Tom, and we had the rest. And we are going to end Prohibition together, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be your host and to drive this train, and not on cocaine. And who can sing that song? So it's Jeff Eichen. I'm going to say arrivederci. And is that French? Arrivederci, adios amigos. So hey to Tommy Chong and all you people out there. Smoke if you got them. Alcohol is definitely not as safe as marijuana. So definitely, like we said today, be careful and teach your children. Jeff Eichen, so episode 185. And you remember 3, weed, 2, peace in the Middle East, and F Schedule 1. 3, 2, 1. I'm out of here. So everybody, it's still me. I'm still here on StreamYard. And let's see if we can pull me back into StreamYard here. Here we are. We're in StreamYard, everybody. And we're saying on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel, we love you. We are counting on you to do the fund drive this Christmas and to have fun with your fund drive. Give what you can. freedomgrow.org and holidays, Holidays, freedomgrow.org. That's all I got for you today. Hemp Hooray.